in this live stream, I'm going to talk about, as I put on my title, right, of my live streaming, things you own end up owning you, right? So this is a particular specific topic I want to discuss in this live streaming. I have a little, story to share that relates to that philosophical statement, right? So this dates back to when I was 23, 24. That's when I have dropped out of school and I wasn't sure what I was doing with my life. And during that time, I was working part-time here and there, right? So I was making a little bit of money. And at that time, I did not have a car. So until that time, I never had a car, right? And I finally was able to get a car during that time. And with the help of my dad, my dad has promised me that. So once he promised me that, oh, like, Kenji, if you get into good school, so whether it's UCLA or UC Berkeley, I'm going to get you a brand new car. And I'm going to get, like, at the time I wanted a BMW, right? So I was like, okay, Dad, like, how about a BMW? Like, can you get me a BMW? And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll get you a BMW. That's a promise he made, right? So I really truly believed it. But then when I got into college, he never followed through his promise. Which is a different story I'll talk about later in a different time. But anyways, when I turned like 24, 25, I was ready to get a new car. And my dad helped me to put a down payment for that car. And the car that I got was Mini Cooper. Back then, like when I was 23, 24, that car was pretty popular when it came out. And I kind of liked it, right? And the girlfriend I had at the time, she also wanted that car. She didn't have a car. And she wanted that car too. I was like, okay, like, I might as well get it. I wasn't too into that car, but I mean, it wasn't too bad, I guess. So my mirror on my window starts to... It's raining again. Okay, let's see. All right. Anyways, so my dad helped me with a down payment. I think he helped put down like $15,000. And the price of the car at the time was, I think, including the taxes and fees and all of that, it was around $32,000, $35,000. Yeah, like in the $30,000 range. Anyways, so that I ended up getting that car, and it was a brand new car, right? And it was also my first car. And I was like really, really excited to get that car, right? But at the time, I was not, like, I barely got a driver's license too, so I barely knew how to drive. So it wasn't very smart, I guess, for me to get a brand new car because I still was kind of rusty with my driving skills. But anyways, I wanted a new car, so I got it. And like I said, I was really excited initially, right? I was really, really happy, overjoyed. And I just couldn't believe that I had such a nice car at such a young age. And I don't really necessarily come from a rich family or anything like that. So it was definitely, I think, luxury, right? A privilege for me to get that car at the time. But that joy, that excitement, right? That happiness only lasted about maybe 1 or 2 months, right? That initial high you get from getting a new things, right? Like it's like a fancy toy, especially for a guy, right? When they get a new car. But the reason why I say that only lasted for a month or two is because what happened is that every time I drive it around, right, I would get really, really anxious of running that car and wrecking it because I was not good at driving. I barely knew how to drive. But also it was a brand new car. And another thing was that when I would, like, let's say I go to Walmart, right? Like, I park that car and I go in, and as soon as I go into like a store, I'm constantly thinking about, oh, like, what if someone scratches my car? What if like someone dings my car door, right? Like, what if like someone just keys my car just intentionally because it's brand new, right? So as soon as like I walk into the store, instead of like focusing on shopping or focusing on what I need to get, my mind is completely filled with this thought, like, what if this happens? What if something happens to my car? Someone does, like, keys my car, right? So my mind is like completely distracted, right? And this happened, like, yeah, as soon as like that initial high from getting a new car faded, now like I was constantly preoccupied with this anxiety, with like all these possible things, bad things that could happen to my car. And yeah, and this would happen like when I go to work too, right? So like I remember at the time I worked at this vitamin store, right? That taste supplement store. And I would intentionally park my car right in front of my store so that I can see my car, right? I have an eye on it. And while working, like, yeah, there are customers coming in and out, and yeah, they would like park their car if like the spot right next to my car is empty, it's not taken. Yeah, they would park their car right next to my car, right? And I'm like looking at them, like trying to see if they end up, dinging my door or dinging my car. Because someone like sometimes people are not careful enough, right? And when they swing their door open, sometimes it's the other car, right? So like instead of focusing on my work, I'm like distracted and like looking at my car and the other driver or customer, like if they end up dinging my car or hitting my car, right? And yeah, this happened like every time I would go to work, and I was so distracted. And if you think about it, it's not a pleasant feeling for your mind to be just constantly just worried about someone just doing something or damaging your car, right? Because I feel like that's kind of almost, I don't know, just very not productive, just useless for you to just constantly think about just something happening to your car. But that's what happened. And that's why I have saying that, or I have a statement on my live streaming title, things you own end up owning you. Because if you think about it, I own this car apparently, right? But did I really own it? Once my whole mind was just revolving around, what if something happens to my car? Like, do I really own it, or does a car own me? Because at that time, or once that happens, I feel like you're not really owning that car. Like, you're not owning your object anymore, right? Because you don't have that freedom of mind or you don't allow yourself to be kind of detached from that object, right? Like, I feel like when you are so attached to something, that's when, and your mind gets really preoccupied and even obsessed with that certain thing that you own, that's when your freedom of mind is taken away, and that thing you own actually ends up owning you, right? And maybe if I, like, at that time had more money, like if I don't know, if I feel like at the time or looking back, I think I probably bought a car that I couldn't afford in the first place. If I'm like so preoccupied and obsessed over something so trivial like such as a car, it's I don't think it's a healthy mindset. I don't think it's healthy experience, right? But anyways, that's what happened, and I think that's what happens to a lot of people too, right? When people buy stuff. Hey, Jay Funny, good to see you. When you buy stuff, like when people buy stuff, they start to get obsessed over it. You don't have to speak Korean, it's okay. But once you start to obsess over certain things, certain like stuff you buy, and you're constantly thinking about that object, and your mind is completely, filled with that thing you own, right? You're giving control to that thing you own, right? And when you give your control, let me see. So reconnected. Okay. All right, there you go. Hey, I'm doing okay in it, bruv. Thanks for asking. Yeah, like when you allow yourself to be preoccupied and to be obsessed by the thing you own, yeah, you lose complete control over that thing completely, right? And you lose that sense of freedom to actually truly be able to enjoy that thing you own. Like why, like if you think about it, I think the reason why we buy things, right? The reason why we own things is so that we could actually gain a certain pleasant experience from owning it, right? But then if your experience is ruined from owning it, like, do you truly own it? Like, are you actually truly reaping the benefits of owning something that is supposed to give you, I guess, a positive, pleasant, happy experience, right? Yeah, all right. Well, let's see. Like, I'm quite behind the chat. Hey, Clown World Junior. Good to see you. Right. So, lately I have been thinking so right now I own Honda Civic, right? And this car, it's a good car. I really, really like it, but it's definitely not one of those luxurious, expensive cars out there. And it's funny because, yeah, right, like whenever I drive this car, I take it to everywhere, and I don't care. Like, I don't care if like someone dings my car, if someone scratches my car. I don't care. I don't have to care, right? Because I don't feel like obsessive over this car because it's just a regular car. And I feel like this car is like almost paid off too. And I feel like this is something like I can actually afford to buy and actually afford to be able to enjoy, right? And if something happens to my car, so be it. Like, I'm okay with it. But let's say like I've been thinking lately about getting a new Tesla, right? Which is something I can't actually afford, but I don't know, like I sometimes just fantasize about it. I think if you lease it, it's like more affordable. And lately I've been fantasizing a lot about just, like I might not be able to live for another year. Might as well just fuck it, and just, why don't I just go out there, just buy it, right? Just enjoy the present moment, right? So I was telling myself, like, should I go get it? Should I just go YOLO and just buy it? But then on the other hand, I'm thinking, okay, like, what if I buy that car, I buy the Tesla, right? And what if that same experience happens to me again? Because Tesla is a nice car, right? It's a very fancy car. I think it's such a nice car, and it's expensive too. And I'm just very, very afraid that same thing might actually happen again, right? Because I cherish that car so much, I value that car so much, that now like this fear of like something happening to that car kicks in again, right? So I think it's such a double-edged sword when we get something we value so much, we want so much, we like it so much, we give like so much control to that, like to that object we own. At the same time, on the other hand, what happens is that like it's followed and accompanied by that fear of like losing that thing, or that thing getting damaged or being stolen and whatnot, right? So I feel like that's why I say it's such a double-edged sword when we actually end up being able to own what we really, really want. And I'm pretty sure there are exceptions for some people, but at least for people like me who are very sensitive and I don't know, who are very anxious, I think we tend to have this tendency where we feel like when we own something we really, truly, really value, it's a given that we're going to have that anxiety around the object we own.